So, that kind of leads us into an interesting situation as far as Game 3. These players are tied 1-1. We're going into Game 3. It's going to be on a weigh station. Of course, we're going to be able to talk about pros and cons of these types of styles, but how do you see Jaedong kind of approaching this game after the first two?
I see him doing everything he can not to let it go to the late game. I think, objectively speaking, Jaedong, as I said earlier, quite bad with Swarm host play, both with and against, and we saw that. I think his late game ZvZ is not great, certainly in comparison to his early to mid game ZvZ. Conversely, Stephano had the better opening this game and was ahead in the early game, but because he's not what Jaedong is, he lost that lead decisively, down 60 supply. And then all of a sudden, he needs to push it to late game, and in doing that, Stephano wins because, again, that's where it favors for him. So I see Jaedong playing to his strengths is what I would hope. I agree 100%.
That's what he loves, that's what he's great at, and it's also amazingly exciting to watch and just see the crazy movements and decisions, snap speed from Jaedong. But here we are, guys, in game number 3. We're tied 1-1 in this best of 5. This is the third quarterfinal of Championship Sunday here at Lone Star Clash 3. The winner of this best of 5 will move on to the next round. The loser will be out of the tournament. In the top right-hand location, I present your red Zerg player representing Team Evil Geniuses. He is Jaedong.
And his opponents from the same team of Evil Geniuses, hailing from France, it is Stephano. And it is Way Station, which potentially is the largest, or at least one of the largest maps, maybe up there with Alterzine, but given the way they spawned, at least for now, it's a much smaller map. But with both players with the drop screen here, there's a very good chance that they're dropping and we're gonna have to re-host, or I don't think we resume from replay right now.
It's like,
especially with game art, we actually can't, we learned that. Oh, nope, we're back. That's interesting.
Oh, looks like we have a pause. Of course, we're gonna make sure this gets figured out. But yeah, your point on the map, Way Station, a massive map, but their spawn locations lend it to the smaller kind of aspect where, I feel like if this continues forward similarly, the third base might be very hotly contested. It's kind of has a lot of open area around it, which lends itself to a lot of aggressive ability from the opposing player. I think the natural is relatively easy to take, but we're seeing both these guys just drawn up at this point. So we'll see how it continues.
Yeah, it would be interesting because it looks like they're both fine and they're going to just resume. But Way Station is one of those weird maps where it actually, like if you just remake, they could get top, left, bottom, right, and that's a completely different game.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of interesting because not every map's like that. Like if you play on Overgrowth, well, yeah remake, because it's the same thing every time, I guess. But here we're gonna just resume, and it's normal. We do see Hatch first coming out from Stephano. So he is gonna change things up, and we don't see an early pool from Jaedong this time around. Instead, it's just going to be 15 spawning pool, which is the safer spawning pool, and he's otherwise gonna drop his hatches a little bit later.
Sure, yeah. There we go, the hatch is gonna be placed down very soon. Not a huge difference here. Stephano might have a very minor drone advantage in the early game, but on the other side of things, Jaedong can get faster speed, potentially, because the spawning pool is going to get done a little bit faster. So we'll keep an eye on how this progresses, but very even openings for both these guys. Kind of just taking a breath, stepping back, don't want to take any crazy risks, and we'll see what kind of decisions they make going forward.
And as you said, minor differences, but I do agree. I think Stephano has a slightly better build order. Again, if you pull all the Zerg players, like, I'd like to go Hatch first if you would. But let's see where we go from here. We've seen kind of the feel me out, Ling, Baneling. Both players have shown they're not super committed to any kind of Ling, Baneling bust. Some players really, really push that on their opponents. Life comes to mind. Someone who has incredible micro and is able to make that work more often than not. Both these players have so far shown that they're willing to do that game if it goes to it, but they'd otherwise like to get to the roach stage. We've seen that both times, and in Stephano's ZvZ yesterday, that was what he did all the time too.
So, Ling Baneling stage, of course, is going to be the thing we're going to be watching out for in this early stages. As you said, we're going to have speed coming down for both these two players. And as we discussed earlier, Jaedong, I feel like he's going to want to get in Stephano's face as quickly as possible, really try to bring the momentum of the game into his favor and let it go in his direction. We see a Baneling Nest there from Stephano right at the front of the natural expansion. And I feel like we should have one coming down soon here for Jaedong. We're going to get very standard stuff, but it's very exciting watching those Ling-Baneling battles because one Baneling detonation can really skew the game into one of the players' favor dramatically.
And that's both the queens. I'm not quite sure why Jaedong did this. I think he wanted to maybe sell Gasless and then go for a very heavy-handed Ling-Baneling attack. But that's going to be thwarted here as the scout does make its way in here. Baneling Nest is down at the natural, and I do believe Stephano saw that. Yes, he did. But again, the two queens at the front gives me pause that I think Jaedong was looking to instigate some mind games, doesn't get it, and it's going to have to go with plan B.
Okay, looking at that production tab, we see those links in production again, fairly standard. You just want to get some safety in these early stages so you don't die to anything crazy. It remains to be seen how aggressive these guys will be. Of course, transition into roaches is going to be what we're looking out for, as well as the timing of the third base.
And that's quite a few Zerglings, not so much so that Jaedong freaks out, I don't think. But that could have been the beginning to a lot more Zerglings, as we do see larvae sprouting here, but perhaps it was or was not going to be, as Stephano is just going to add a layer behind this.
Jaedong has a lot of supply room here, so...
Yeah, a lot more Lings too.
He's going to go for some pretty hyper aggression. Meanwhile, Stephano going for the layer and the Roach Warren. So making these investments into something that's not necessarily going to help him at this point in the game. But if he's able to deal with this aggression soundly, it's going to set himself up for a remarkable position going into the mid game. So this is going to be a deciding point in this game. How much damage will Jaedong be able to get done? If he can't get a lot of damage done, it's not going to be good for him going forward.
Stephano has a lot of Zerglings coming out, but none to make Banelings right now, and that's really important. Jaedong's been mining off the two guesses for a while now. He runs in, sees this is actually a wide open natural. Great positioning from Stephano, though, puts them back and does not give a lot of surface area. That being said, though, one queen dies. The second queen moments away from dying. She too will die. And here come the Banelings.
Yeah, Banelings coming forward. Stephano also has Banelings of his own. Look out for those money. Baneling detonations a queen. Trying to block the ramp here. Doing a great job. And honestly, Stephano, I think he did a great job there handling that very easily. Income still 38 to 38, and he's going to have the advantage as far as layer is concerned. He's already got roach speed on the way, so Stephano doing a great job defending that attack.
A great defense. He did lose two queens there, but as you said, they're equal in supply, and Stephano's ahead in everything else. He's actually going to take that advantage, and here comes the swing. He's going to push forward with his own link.
Make sure there's no third.
Exactly, cancel a third if there is one, but also force Jaedong to, instead of droning up right there, which is what he'd like to do,
make units.
Make more Zerglings. So we're entering into the dance period here, but make no mistake about it, Jaedong's way behind.
He is. And I'm wondering, how does Stephano kind of take advantage of that? I feel like what could be good and what he might be going for is a timing behind roach speed. Just get a bunch of roaches right now, go sprint some across the map and try to win.
Yeah.
Or what he could do is secure his third base, just make sure his opponent doesn't get a third, and maybe go for an upgrade timing a little bit later.
Well, it's tough. The nice thing that Stephano's doing right now is he's producing roaches despite having the much faster third. And he ran down and killed just about all the Zerglings out on the map. So Jaedong he's grossly behind in Zerglings. There's already roaches coming out for Stephano, which means you don't really have the advantage there either. And with that third, all pressure's on Jaedong to make up the difference, but when he's producing less and he needed to drone and he doesn't have, I mean, there's a real chance that Jaedong just dies here in a second, by the way.
Okay, we'll see. I mean, we have roach speed here from Stephano. No roach speed just yet from Jaedong. If there's good news for Jaedong, his +1 missile attack upgrade is almost done. Now Stephano has to make the decision. Does he go into the natural or does he just deny the third? He's kind of trying to bait Jaedong out a little bit and now engaging with his roaches, getting some decent Baneling detonations. Meanwhile, the Zerglings are able to cancel out that hatchery at the third base. Stephano pressing forward into the natural, letting the Lings go up versus Jaedong is going to be retreating here, trying to get as many roaches out as possible. And Stephano doing so much damage here.
Stephano gets this around, is winning the fight in a big way. Supply doesn't really tell the story. Jaedong is on the ropes right now. He's scrambling out with units, and these units of Stephano might get grinded down, but in the backfield, remember, the third of Jaedong was canceled.
Yep.
And even if he holds this off, which it looks like he will, he's able to push this back just now. Stephano has a third that's about to get injected upon, which allows for such a huge boost in production.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Drone count is similar, which, you know, I mean,
there is an upgrade advantage for Jaedong. That's the one the one place you look for hope. But otherwise, even right now, Stephano has more roaches.
Well, Jaedong is actually tracking a few roaches down. Stephano doesn't want to be too cost efficient here. He's just going to try to sprint those into the main base, try to get a feel for exactly what his opponent is making. And Jaedong is actually making a ridiculous amount of roaches at this time. Stephano coming forward with some reinforcements, though. He's always got an answer. And Jaedong once again scrambling to try to fend off this attack.
Yeah, Jaedong is going to try to split off the appropriate amount of units to go for this. Stephano at the natural inside the main. It looks like both are so far being cleaned up, but not before a lot of drones to die. And look at the supply differential as the game goes on. We see nothing but blue roaches dying, but for every blue roach that dies, because of Stephano's fantastic multitasking, they all died with a drone or two being dragged to hell with them. I mean, there's no drones at the third just yet for Stephano, so he's not reaping the reward of that income, but it's the production and the early advantage he had killing the third and stopping all of Jaedong's tactics.
Absolutely, and Stephano just has all the momentum in this game right now. Has a perfect, really pacing this well, I think. Making great decisions as far as whether to make drones, whether to make roaches, and more importantly, keeping Jaedong guessing, because Jaedong is in a situation where, you know, he's behind. He needs to know exactly what his opponent is doing. He wants to make drones right now, but he also wants to survive. So Stephano doing a great job keeping Jaedong guessing and surging once again toward the natural. And Jaedong throwing down the GG. Stephano taking game number 3.
This college student on vacation